for hanging on with us. So we've got big news tonight. Well, we sold the Bronco and we've got a lot of Ford news. So you're not going to want to miss out. You're going to want to watch to then. We're talking about new models at Ford. So big Ford news, what to expect for new models and some disappearing models. So some really cool talk behind that. We've got some controversial issues to talk about. It's going to be like petting the cat backwards. It's going to upset some people, but I've got a challenge for the automobile community because I think we're being a little close-minded, but I kind of understand why, and I myself am frustrated. So we've got to talk about this whole push on EVs, what's going on with that, and a challenge to the car community. We got price increases and price decreases to discuss, and that is kind of news because I want to help you all out to know what to expect for 2023, moving forward. What can we expect? Price increases, price decreases, and most importantly, I want to share ways that you can save thousands or really avoid losing thousands of dollars, because it is easy when you're at a dealership to quickly lose thousands of dollars without even really noticing that something has even occurred. So I'm going to be talking about that because it's pretty big. It's all about interest rates and credit. So we're going to be talking about that important information. Now, we're also going to be talking about some of your favorite models, the best value, the best trim, best, quality value for each of the popular models at Ford. So we're going to be talking about what I think is the best trim that you can buy when you're buying your favorite Ford models. Here are a bunch of them behind us, and we'll be talking about that.
Favorites.
And yes, we'll also be talking about a bit of an issue, an open issue. Someone asked the question like, how does your dealership feel when you switch so often? So, I'm here to answer all the questions, and I'll answer that one honestly. Marie's here to talk about styles. She's also waited for a Maverick for over a year and a half. So we know what it's like to wait. We're here waiting for you. We're here to give you advice about, what to do while you're waiting, how to properly order things so you don't wait a year and a half to find out that the dealership just didn't order it properly. I actually came across that recently. Pretty sad. Someone put in a Ford Maverick order and the dealership did nothing in regards to confirming and enrolling the order. So they're going to wait an extremely long time for an EcoBoost. They'll probably have maybe come a year down the road, they'll have bad things to say about Ford. It's not going to be Ford's fault whatsoever. It's the dealership being clearly incapable of doing something as simple as reading. This is why we learn how to read in grade 1, because it's the basis. It's like addition and subtraction. You shouldn't work at a dealership if you don't like reading things. So I wish I could clean house, but then again, these days, if you clean house, who's going to replace it? Everyone's missing workers, and that's been part of the big problem behind the last 2 years. Missing workers, where did they all go? I don't know, but I'd love to hear your comments on this, and I'm going to want to see a discussion tonight in the comment section in the chat about when I'm commenting on best trim in regards to value. So we'll be talking about Ford Maverick, Ford Bronco, Ford Lightning, and we're going to be talking about the scheduling notes for this week. Yes, this week I have scheduling notes. I'll cover those quickly and some important things to keep in mind. So let's get this show started right up. I'm Johnny from Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. We've got Maverick Maddie over here, or Maverick Maddie, if we Americanize her name. You can call her Maddie or Marie if Marie is too tough. But here we know her as Maverick Marie because she's been waiting over a year and a half now for her Ford Maverick, and it's currently stuck in Arizona with a whole bunch of other Mavericks. So bad news.
For me, it's normal. I always wait. I still wait. So yeah, it's not unusual for me. And at the same time, yes, you had the question how your dealer feels about you changing often. But for me, it's like 2 years ago, I didn't switch. Since 2 years, I'm waiting for a car. So I guess you switch twice more because you have to you need to buy a car for me while I'm waiting. So maybe it's my fault.
And I think my dealer recognizes I keep these vehicles usually for a little over a year. I think my dealership realizes that for the last 10 years, I would usually lose about $5,000 on average. I lost about $5,000 per vehicle And even now, with, you hear all these rumors about people making tons of money flipping vehicles. I'm not flipping them because I'm keeping them long enough that they actually do depreciate. And, for our blue Bronco, we did basically get window sticker, and I had made payments. So the only reason I had positive equity is because I had made payments. And then on this gray one, on trade-in, it was middle of winter. Trade-ins were not great this winter. They had a little down period. Now they're back up. But had I traded it in, I would have lost. And it was actually one of the rare times I've ever actually just gone out and sold the vehicle myself.
And sometimes we see in the video cars that you have with you, but sometimes it's only borrowed. It's not yours.
Yes, and the dealership knows that with
We
all
don't switch
these
that often.
all these losses I've taken over the years, it's always been in the pursuit of knowledge, because knowledge is power. And clearly, I like to be a powerful guy. I like to know a lot as much as I can about all the vehicles I love. I'm a true car enthusiast. I'm willing to, and I have over the years lost tons of money learning and gaining experiences around vehicles. But all of these experiences make it so that I can bring you some important information. So Marie, let's get to that important information. Marie is actually currently in the worst time period, and that's when you know your vehicle's built and you're just waiting on it. So Marie, what I can give you tonight, here's your build sheet. So you can actually get these build sheets on Ford Track Your Vehicle. You need to know your order code. Winston, no. Let me finish. You need to know your order code and your serial number. Now, your VIN should be assigned at least a month before you actually get built. So your dealership should be able to give this to you. And they definitely should know your order code. With those two things, Ford Track Your Vehicle. You punch them in, bottom of the left screen, you'll have an option to get your window sticker. So very cool. Right now, her Maverick is going to be $37,655 Canadian. Yeah, it went up, definitely went up from when Marie ordered it. But what's really cool is we did a COVP order, a confirmed and enrolled order. So that means we handed over her driver's license. A signed purchase or lease agreement is required. The build sheet that was signed. I know good dealers are going to sign all these things and give you a copy, so you know what interest rate to expect as well as what price. Now, of course, we can't protect and get her that 2022 price, but you're getting a $3,250 rebate off that $37,632 price. So we're in the last leg of it. And good evening, Driven Wild Outdoors. Dwayne, thank you so much for joining us. Tim, thank you for making it here. Ridgeview. Tim Bart's fantastic, legend in the community. Truly appreciate it. Ridgeview, thank you for being here to help moderate everything, because it's going to get spicy, maybe a little saucy in the chat comment. So I'm going to start off by talking about new models. So beginning of the show, went through everything I'm going to talk about. We'll do scheduling notes at the end. Dave from All Terrain Nation is here. I'm looking forward to hearing a lot of your opinions on this, and hopefully I don't lose any friends over this. But here's the thing I've got to say. Before I talk about new models coming to Ford, there's been a lot of hate on the F-150 Lightning. Most videos I see online that are getting tons of views from tiny little channels, it's because they have something really negative to say. So one title is like that they, really regret buying their Lightning. Then I watched the video, it's 20 some minutes long, and I couldn't believe the whole video was about how this individual didn't follow the instructions. And, the instructions is that you have to order yourself your free charging kit. So, and I know I ordered myself my own free charging kit. I read what I had to read, and I knew that this wasn't going to just magically show up from Ford. And Andrea, thank you so much. That is very, very kind. Really, really appreciate it. Love seeing all those nines. Really appreciate it. Thank you for helping to continue this channel going. Also, a huge thank you to all the members. The members in the chat. They've got little stars in a certain color based on their age, how long they've been a member. But these things really do help keep this channel going. YouTube there's probably better ways to make money, but if you're not, making millions of views, it's tough to get by. So I'll keep it at that. But here's the big challenge to the auto community. There's been a lot of hate on the Lightning, And we're going to talk about how it's kind of odd. It's easy, apparently, to hate on these EVs. And I have a feeling I know why. We'll discuss this. But there's a lot of hate on EVs, even though, look at the Lightning. If you're a person who loves vehicles because of their luxury and comfort, so you're a luxury seeker in the automobile world, the Lightning is unbelievably comfortable. What if you're a speed freak? Well, the Lightning is unbelievably fast. It's not even Porsche 911 fast. It blows away the regular Porsche 911. It's Porsche 911S fast, and S with the little performance package on it. So it's kind of like basically kind of like a GTS Porsche. So it's unbelievably fast. It actually handles really well despite being huge, tons of space. And if you're a camper, great. You could, put up a blow up mattress in put up the back seat, put in a blow up mattress, and just sleep in the cabin or in the bed. This thing's got it all, and people still seem to love to hate it. And it wins in every category. It's even a pretty decent off-roader. Just don't pierce those batteries, but there is protection underneath the vehicle. We'll check out the Bronco Everglades, and we'll talk Bronco in a moment. But I just want to talk about this controversial issue. Why all the hate for EV? I'd love to hear your comments in the chat. I'd like to see them pass by on the screen. My take on this is very few people enjoy being forced. We're not used to it. We're not communists, and we don't want to be communists. We don't like being forced. Many of us don't even appreciate being forced to pay for taxes that go towards things we don't necessarily agree with. So even that's a huge debate and should be debated more in politics. We should generally always be debating and voting on how we're going to vote and elect people, as well as what policies we actually want to see money go to or not. Unfortunately, too often we get distracted with, nonsense. We get distracted with a lot of nonsense, and we end up having an election based over how the coronavirus is going to be treated in society, whether we're going to stay indoors, outdoors, whatever the policies around that. And that's not what we should be basing an election on. But anyways, I think we despise being forced. So I have that bit of hatred in me as me. Well, I'd rather use the word dislike, but I really dislike having to be forced EVs in the future. But this machine is absolutely incredible. And it doesn't come with really very many regrets. We're a top-down couple. We like to have our top off. And for that's a big part of our regret, actually. And maybe you took out the Lightning the last 2 weekends. You brought your girlfriends in that vehicle, so maybe you can actually talk about your experience. Your friends, they had never been in an electric vehicle, I think, and not only were they in an electric vehicle, they're in an unbelievably fast and luxurious electric vehicle. And it seems that Tim Bartz loves the performance on his. Even I think you love the performance. So I'll let you talk about that while I recover from all those technical issues I had. We're somehow in some weird world where it wasn't the regular layout, and we had never seen those live buttons, but now it's all worked out. It's back to normal. Tell us about the Lightning, Maddie. You took it out for 2 weekends.
So at first, my friends found it very quiet, and one of them doesn't believe that it was a full electric car. She's like, yeah, but it's big. It's a truck. How can it be fully electric? So and for the performance, I tried what John did to me when I was speaking the first time. He was driving the car, and I was in the Lightning for the first time. And he put the
pedal to the metal.
Pedal to the metal.
That's how we say it here.
And I felt like I was in a roller coaster. I don't know how to say it, but I feel something in my stomach. Woo! It goes fast. And I did the same with my friend, and she has the same feeling. She really, how can I say it? She enjoyed it and was so surprised how fast it could go, because it's a big car. You don't see that often, that a big car like that could move quickly like that. And seems like it doesn't have to make a big effort.
And you like the speed?
Yeah.
You now have a need for speed?
Yeah, and it's so comfortable at the same time because I don't know how to express that, but we feel like even if the road is bumpy, we don't feel it. It's
Yeah,
comfortable.
this thing, Quebec, we have horrible roads, and this thing just
So much.
flies over the potholes. And like
And
some of our potholes are 8, 9, sometimes
yeah,
I've broken,
that's
I've
horrible.
damaged many Mustang mags on these roads before. And what's cool
Mm.
is actually now the old mare, I wrote to the old mare and said, hey, look, on this road, I damaged my mag. The thing 2 weeks later got all the holes filled in a non-permanent way, but it is unbelievably
That's the
comfortable.
problem. It's not permanent, so it each spring it comes out
Yeah,
of the
that's
hole.
it's a story for another day.
Yeah,
But you're loving the lightning, I think.
yeah, but that's dangerous because if it's comfortable like that and you don't feel the road and
Yeah.
it can go fast, it's easy to go more than the speed limit.
It
You need
accelerates
to be
really
careful.
quickly, but what's cool is when you let go of the accelerator pedal, the electric motor starts to create friction. I believe this is how it works, but basically, my understanding is the electric motor then creates resistance, friction, and uses that as energy for essentially to charge the battery back up. So you're gaining some battery, but you're also slowing down. So actually, a danger with the Lightning is having your discs ruin, your brake discs ruined because you don't use the brakes often enough. And the general myth is that these vehicles charge, the brakes charge. The brakes themselves don't have nothing to do with charging whatsoever. It's the electric engine or the transmission, but one way or another, you've got this resistance created that slows you down, and that's what's charging your battery, and it slows you down. It's impressive. Something I'm not actually liking all that much is it's not always for some reason in my Lightning, it's not always the same level of slowing down, you could say. It's not providing me the same resistance. So it's hard sometimes to judge. At highway speeds, the resistance is always very high, but then in town, I can expect to slow down at the same speed I would on the highway, and that's just not the case. And generally, sometimes it'll kick in right away, and other times it'll take a couple seconds before it'll go from a light resistance to a heavy resistance. And then other times, and maybe this is just the extreme cold we've been having in the icy roads, but other times I'll let go and it'll just be in its normal slow down mode, but I'm in one pedal. So I'm expecting one pedal levels of slowing down, and I'm just getting regular slowing down. So those are honest fears I have. And here's a controversial thing I'm going to say. I bet if I had a thumbnail that said, and I actually fell for a thumbnail recently that had a thumbnail that said, I was talking about Yellowstone saying, she's so racist. And I clicked on it and I was like, oh, I just got clickbaited. And I bet if there's a title saying, Ford is so, it would be a thumbnail that would be rather popular, but that'd be rather dirty. But honestly, my Lightning, very oddly, there's a point to this story. I guess I have squinty eyes, and my Blue Cruise keeps turning off. Except tonight, I tested for the first time to open my eyes more like, big beautiful eyes over here. She's got big eyes. Blue Cruise, no problems. Did your Blue Cruise continuously turn off?
I didn't try it, honestly.
It turns on itself when you're in cruise control. So it was probably on and you didn't even
And then I
realize
guess
it.
you will have a pop-up that advises you that it stop.
Yeah, it would have been popping up
Didn't have a
saying
pop-up.
Blue Cruise off. My Blue Cruise constantly turns off, and I think it's because when I drive, I've got eyes like this. So hence, the Blue Cruise doesn't seem to like eyes that are mostly closed or slightly open.
Maybe your Bronco talked to the Lightning before and says, hey, be careful, that guy falls asleep when he drives. You always had the message in the Bronco, how do you say it? Maybe you need to take a coffee break.
Yes, it tells me I need a coffee break. So Marine Vet is bringing up a great point. In the United States, the infrastructure isn't quite developed enough. And yes, it's incredible the number of chargers that are in the States. The number is unbelievably high. But if you're in the center of the United States, there aren't as many as on the outside in the higher population areas. And there's also the fact that these chargers don't always function. Now in Canada, it seems like if a charger doesn't function, it gets reported and almost immediately gets fixed. The Canadian system, charging system, is incredible. You don't really if you come across a machine one time, you come back a few days later, it's going to be fixed. So that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how there's so much hate for what is I'd say every car enthusiast should at least appreciate the Ford F-150 Lightning, because what's the criteria, the measurement criteria? Well, people look at vehicles based on their comfort, their acceleration, their braking, and their handling. And the F-150 Lightning does all those in straight A's, A+, all across the board, and even has great hauling capacity. Put 2,000 pounds in the bed and can tow. But the range, Marine Vet also mentioned the range, and that's something too. There's a lot of range anxiety. The thing to keep in mind is your house, your home becomes your new, it replaces the gas station, but it's at home. So if you're going home every night, come on, of course I'm going to come home. I'm not going to be silly and not come home. So of course I come home every night, make sure that she's happy and secure and safe. So I come home every evening and I could plug it in every night. Now, ideally you don't plug it in every single night unless you have to, because a battery only has so many charges in its lifespan. So that's that. Now, moving right along, did you have anything you want to add about the F-150 Lightning?
No, I guess that's all. But at the same time, no, I could have something. Because, yes, you said we really love to have a top off on the Bronco. And yes, for now it's winter. I really love the Lightning, but I know this summer, even if we have a panoramic roof.
Yeah, we have the panoramic roof. Okay. So we've got the big, huge glass section that pulls back.
So we see the sun, but I guess I will miss to feel the wind and have more sun on me. On the car.
Ford did an amazing job at offering an electric truck that is really, it feels a lot like a truck, but an extreme high performance, high luxury truck. And if we look at price, and this is another point I want to bring up tonight, because we're going to talk about price on the Bronco. Had one of these showed up, pretty tempting. But when we go over to the F1, go ahead.
That's a good thing that you were talking about Bronco, because we had a question from For High For Low at the beginning of the chat. He says, now that you sold your Bronco, will the update Bronco info will stop?
No, not at all. There'll be more. We've got Bronco info tonight. We'll be talking about when we can start ordering them up again, if that's going to be the end of March. Let's say if it ends up being March 27th, I'll be announcing it. But here's the thing, the F-150 Lightning also gets a lot of hate because of the price. But with new price increases on the 2023 Ford F-150, you look at an XLT here at $63,474, and that's, in Canadian, it's $10,000 more to go from your XLT F-150 to 302 Sport, which is the equivalent in regards to options, basically as this EV truck, and you're looking at a 10,000 Canadian dollar difference. And that's not that much when you consider all the fuel savings you're going to have and all the additional performance. You walk into BMW or Mercedes or Audi and you tell them, hey, I want a car, or Porsche. Heck, if you want to go to Porsche and you want to get a car that, we're not even talking about a second faster to 100 kilometers. We're talking about a vehicle that's more like 2.5, 3 seconds faster to 100 kilometers an hour. And just for a little bit of extra performance out of the European models, you're spending a good, easy, $10,000 to $20,000. So the performance, this is an incredible performance vehicle, but does it do truck stuff? Well, it hauls great. It tows easily, but it loses a lot of range. So that's where this is less of a truck, I think, than what some people want. But boy, is it ever impressive. Now, the extended range, if you can just charge more often, or when you're going on slightly longer drives, pull over for 30 minutes, 35 minutes and get an extra charge. There's a huge price difference between an XLT at $63,474 to an extended range at $80,974. That is, what is that, $17,000 basically? That's huge for getting an extra, what is it, an extra 70 miles, roughly 65, 70 miles of extra range. Now, I didn't pick the XLT because I was in a hurry to get one of these because I want to be driving it. I want to be experiencing it. And that's the thing. I think my dealership knows that and understands I'm willing to lose a lot of money to experience new things so that I'm more experienced when talking about these things, these vehicles, these models to people. So EV, unfortunately, we're getting pushed into this whole EV world. By 2030, it's going to be very much an EV world. By 2035, it might basically only be an EV world unless you're getting an older vehicle. So I wanted to know as much as I could about these vehicles as quickly as possible. Hence why I didn't just take an XLT standard range battery. But I think that is the best value. And when you're comparing it to a gas XLT 302 Sport, let's say, not a huge price difference, 10 Canadian, so let's say about 7,000 American. But heck, an XLT straight, if you're building it on the website, you even have to add and pay for a hitch. The F-150 EV automatically comes with a hitch, and the XLT comes with a ton of great equipment. One thing to keep in mind though, and a lot of us fall for this when it comes to building a vehicle and ordering a vehicle or taking one off the lot, it's easy to fall into the whole more equipment world. So you look right here, I know
There's
one thing.
There's a lot of option now that the offers on every model.
We're addicted to comfort. We're a society addicted to comfort. We're a society addicted to having more than the neighbor. And here I was,
that help us.
I wanted the vehicle as fast as possible, and I knew Ford would be building out these Lariats and delivering these Lariats faster. But the 12-inch screen that's right there is amazing. And I got kind of suckered in. I suckered myself into doing the whole, oh, well, the 15-inch screen is really impressive. And then, of course, I was telling Marie, well, the panoramic roof would be really impressive. So just keep that in mind when you're ordering a vehicle. You don't have to have the most equipped vehicle. And you look back at the Bronco, what did everyone seem to jump on? Bronco Wild Track. And now getting a Wild Track is hard because so many people wanted the biggest, the baddest. We'll talk about the value model on the Bronco, and we'll get into a little Bronco discussion tonight. First, I want to go over what I promised to talk about, and that is the upcoming models at Ford, because that's pretty exciting. You know, it's exciting for me. Puma, it's doing great in Europe, and I don't think we're going to get a gasoline-powered Puma here, but we might get an EV Puma. That could be very, very cool. An EV Puma could be Ford for quite a while now. For several years, have been promising an EV car SUV, but they've been promising a smaller EV that would fit around $35,000. So right around that price point. So maybe the Puma EV could be our $35,000 vehicle we're looking for. It certainly won't be the Ranger Lightning. The Ranger Lightning is going to be more than $35,000. Now, there is one pretty cool announcement coming up. Should be this March. End of March, we should be hearing about another EV model coming in the mid-size crossover or sport crossover. So we're either going to be getting the announcement of the biggest one here, the furthest one from the Puma. We might be finding out that we're getting a 7-seater EV. That would be about the size of a Ford Explorer. Or getting the announcement, and this I think would make a lot of sense. I think we could finally say, come March, hey, we're really not getting the the Edge. The Ford Edge will not be renewed. It's been, I think a lot of people love the design that the Chinese market is getting. The Chinese Edge is amazing. They redesigned it. It looks great. But maybe we're going to be announced that no Edge here, but you're going to get an EV. And coincidentally, it's going to be Edge-sized. If so, well, the Canadian plant, Oakville, looks like they're not going to be making Ford Edges anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're making, and it was announced that they'd be making EVs instead. So I bet they're going to make that vehicle. And I bet this sport crossover, which is going to be an Explorer-sized 7-seater SUV, I bet that's going to get built in Oakville as well. So they're going to have to expand and invest. They've already said that they'd invest in that factory. There's going to be more jobs coming up.
Yeah, and that's good news because at the same time in the chat we have so many people that says, yeah, the Lightning is nice, but it's not affordable for many people.
That's right.
So if they go in more model like that, we will have a range for each kind of range price that
Yep.
we can buy. So yeah, the future is there. We just need to slowly
Ford's
have new
not,
models that turns EV, I guess.
Ford's not going to go out of business. I think Ford is going to be killing it in sales because they are ready for this EV push. And I think all of us are going to go into this kicking and screaming because no one wants to be forced into EVs. Mind you, what's pretty amazing is our Lightning is unbelievable. There'd be no regrets had we not had a Bronco, because one thing the Ford F-150 Lightning does well, Ford, huge kudos. You did a great job offering us a truck that is electric. But it doesn't have the same personality as a Bronco. Or if they would have gone, more out like a Ford F-150 Raptor, that has a lot of personality. It's easy to get attached to an F-150 Raptor. It's almost impossible not to get attached to a Ford Bronco. There's just so much character with the vehicle. There's little touches everywhere, written Bronco here, Easter eggs. The Lightning just, I wish the same design philosophy, you could say, or all the goodies that the Bronco has. I would have liked to have seen more of that on the Lightning. And, coming out, we did a video on this for the Lightning first impressions exterior. But when we get to the inside impressions, Marie's going to be pointing out several times, like, it would have been nice if they would have had this on the headrest. It would have been nice if they would have had that on the dash, Lightning written on the dash, a little emblem, a special little emblem for the headrest, just to make it special. And it would have made it maybe a little less truck or less regular F-150. But I think when you're paying extra and you're getting people to adopt something completely new, I think it helps. Either way, Ford blew it out of the water. They sold so many F-150 Lightnings that they're going to be creating a whole lot more jobs by expanding their production. So about that, pretty interesting. We just talked about the 7-seater. So the second electric crossover SUV to be made at, they're talking about the 7-seater here and a competitor for the VW ID.5. So you can read more about this over at Just Auto. So it's an article by Glenn Brooks, but I can tell you it coincides with what's been talked about at Ford. And what's also been talked about at Ford is I'm not expecting a whole lot of price decreases in the traditional sense. I'm not expecting huge rebates this year, but maybe better interest rate. And that can save you thousands without harming the value of your trade-in. So I think Ford's going to be on a really good beat to have a very good year. Now, of course, there's those YouTube videos that you'll go and they'll say, look at this yard. It's filled. Ford can't sell anything, but they don't actually do the research to find out which ones are customer orders and which ones are actually for sale inventory. But it's really cool. If you go through our comments from the last video, Jason Brenton actually asked his dealership and looked into it, and he found out that pretty much, actually, I think if I remember his comment correctly, all the Lightnings were sold. All the Broncos, they had Broncos on the lot, but they're all spoken for.
Yeah, because it's not because they drop it in the lot that the owner will come take it right now. They need to prepare it, wash it, remove all the stickers. So it's not that quick before somebody will take it.
Now, 4 high, 4 low, thank you so much for suggesting that people hit the like button. It does help get this information out to more people because, of course, we want a bigger community so we get more intel. But it's also nice not I hate going through Facebook posts and seeing people talking about the horror stories they went through. And it's like, hey, if they're watching this channel, that wouldn't have happened. I just talked to someone recently over the phone for 30 minutes and they bought a Maverick. Well, they didn't really buy a Maverick. It's wishful thinking, no confirmed order, no enroll, nothing's done. So that dealership is going to get less Mavericks and it's going to take much longer to get to their Maverick build. And probably won't be built as a 2023, even though they just ordered an EcoBoost. It should have taken, 4 to 6 months, maybe 8 months at most. So that's that. Now, Ford news. Ford news, Mustang Mach-E production increasing. So it's been down. The plant's been down for a little bit, and they're going to be producing 60,000 units per annum up to 200,000 units. So they're going from 60,000 units to 200,000 units. This higher production means more jobs. Ford is putting money into the Mach-E because it's a huge success. Same thing for the Lightning. Lightning production is going up quite a bit. Now, for the Lightning, I don't have the exact numbers, but they're basically they're going to be trying to almost double production every year up until 2026. So I think the numbers were like 80,000 turning into 150,000. So it's pretty impressive. Lots of jobs that are going to be going down there. Do remember, Ford is going to be building the Lightning, and it's also last video I talked about SK. I said Chinese. I should have said Asian. It's a Korean company. So SK is a Korean company, and Ford has them building batteries here in the United States, in North America. So all very positive news. Just Auto also talks about, the possibility of a Bronco plug-in, a Ranger plug-in. We've talked about that before. A Ford Ranger plug-in is pretty much a done deal. Of a head at Volkswagen was talking about it and had it slipped. We'll have to wait probably longer for a Ranger Lightning. And I think a Ranger Lightning would be cool, but I really think moving forward, lithium is a rare mineral. It causes a lot of pollution, and it's not very ethical how this is being mined, and that's true of all your cell phones and whatnot. The lithium, even though the companies promise that they're mined ethically and with machines, it's people digging in a pit, tens of thousands of people in small areas, shoulder to shoulder. So I think, range anxiety gets resolved with just having, the best vehicle in the world is a plug-in Bronco. It's a 2.3 liter plug-in Bronco. An amazing truck, hard to beat, would be a high torque. So let's say you get, 394 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque out of a plug-in Ranger, with coming out of a 2.3 liter gasoline engine with that plug-in option, with let's say roughly a 14.4 kilowatt battery, or maybe a little bit bigger, that would be mind-blowingly good. You'd have crazy torque, great performance, you'd have all the range you could ever need, but for your daily, you just go to work 100% electric. So, I'm going to say it here, I am saying it's 99% certain we're getting a plug-in Ranger, and the torque numbers are going to be very impressive. I'm expecting right around the 500 pound-feet of torque ballpark. And I can tell you our Lightning, pretty heavy. And it's pretty heavy because of the battery. Wouldn't it be nice, instead of having an F-150 Lightning with 776 pound-feet of torque, to have a plug-in Ranger that has 500 pound-feet of torque, but that the battery barely added any weight to the vehicle? This thing would fly. It'd be a serious high-performance truck. So I think we can expect, it's a bit of what we can expect out of Ford for the next little bit. So that's what I've got for new models coming to Ford. No talk or date about when we'll ever get a Bronco plug-in, but it's got to happen. An all-electric Bronco, maybe not for quite some time. An all-electric Ford Ranger, probably after 2026. But I'd say come March or April, we're going to be finding out about the next electric SUV. So we're probably looking at, maybe I'm going to be surprised and it's going to be the Puma EV, but I think that's probably more in a year or two.
Yeah.
But I think coming up next, we've got essentially what will be the Ford Edge's replacement, but in electric format. I think that's what we're getting in April, and soon we'll probably hear about a 7-seater electric.
Wow.
Something Explorer size, so very cool. These things are high performance. No one likes that we're being forced here. I think choice, we're all about choice. But hey, if we've got to go in that direction, at least Ford's got some, well, we're very impressed with the Lightning.
Yeah, and that's why if we have a plug-in Bronco, for example, we will just leave the Lightning and still have our favorite, the Bronco, but with an electric weight. So it will be the best world.
Now, Tim Bartz brings up a great point. We do need a $30,000 to $35,000 EV to compete with the ID4. Agree with you completely, all the way. Now, what's cool is I got to do a little test drive today with someone who has an Ioniq. They also, for work, have the Chrysler Pacifica hybrid version, plug-in hybrid, and they were blown away by the comfort of the Maverick. I whipped this around in the corners, and their words was, wow. And I was like, they're like, it doesn't have much, how do we say? And I was speaking French, so I said, c'est pas barouette. It's not like a wheelbarrow, because wheelbarrows, three, one wheel, easy to go left, right. He was blown away by how stable this was in the corners and how it was just gliding over the bumps. So Hyundai and Chrysler Pacifica owner, really impressed by this. And with that Chrysler Pacifica, they do a lot of mileage. And I'd say if you're impressing van clientele, these things are long, very long wheelbase. Naturally, even if you put a bad suspension on it, if you've got a long wheelbase, it's still going to be relatively comfortable. So I think it's a good sign. I think all of you are going to love your Maverick that you're waiting for.
And we have a good question. Tom Dinder said everything hybrid in the future seems to be a plug-in. Is there any reason for that? I like the regular hybrid, not the plug-in. Do you know why?
Yes.
We expect more plug-in, maybe?
Fleet, the government. The government is requiring these really high fleet averages. So fleet average, you take a model, you average out the fuel economy of that model, and then you look at the volume of that model versus your overall volume, you end up with averages. So the overall average eventually needs to be 50 miles per gallon. Regular hybrids still aren't getting you to that 50 miles per gallon. We look at the Maverick rate here as a hybrid, as a smaller truck, and the government did kick them down in their rating. If we all remember, this year, 2023, magically the EPA numbers are just like, no, it's not as good on consuming fuel as we said last year. This is now its new rating. Well, it's still not 50 miles per gallon. We look over here, and we in Canada, based on our testing and whatnot, it's 44 miles per gallon, still under the 50 mile per gallon that they need to get these vehicles up to. So it doesn't quite cut it. But if it was a plug-in, that number would be more than twice as high. It's hard because in Canada, lower is better for fuel economy, and in the United States, higher, more miles per gallon is better. I'd say I'm all about smiles per gallon. And I like vehicles that perform, but the Lightning is kind of, in a way, 0 miles per gallon, and I'm still smiling a whole lot. So it's the opposite of my 78 Camaro or the opposite of my 78 Ford F100. Those things were heavy drinkers, but gave me lots of smiles. No smiles from her. Too many gases, too much smoke, too much of everything, too much tire spinning, too much swinging around the back end in the corners. I took her
scares per gallon.
Yeah, you did one ride in the 78 Camaro and you ran in the house and you were like, never again, never again. I got chewed out that day, folks. Yeah, and then for sale.
I was so afraid.
Oh, you were afraid, you were upset. I put it for sale basically to save the relationship.
That's the one that have wolves on the roof.
This is classy 78 green Camaro. Okay, so back to the news. You're not here to hear about our life story. You're here for the news and all this information we don't want to miss out on. So best value on trims. Maybe here's another time I might be petting the kitty backwards. We don't say dog because dogs, no matter how you pet them, they're happy. I'm happy no matter what vehicle I'm in, mostly. But I do have preferences, and there is a quality price point on every vehicle. So the right price versus quality for the Ford Maverick is the XLT and luxury package. So I'd say I convinced Marie into that when it comes to the Maverick. I looked over all the prices, I studied it as much as I could, and I said the best bang for the dollar in a cold climate is the hybrid XLT luxury package. It's unbeatable compared to anything on the market. It is currently blowing away the market in regards to quality. How do I measure quality? Comfort, acceleration, how it handles, what it can do, and what kind of smiles it puts on your face. Now, this isn't a vastly fast vehicle by any Ford standards, but if you're used to driving Toyotas, this is going to be pretty darn exciting. Your RAV4, when in 2018, when you had a brand new Toyota RAV4, that thing was slow. And in a snowstorm, I did my best, like foot right down to the floor, into the corners, and I was swinging that left and right.
I remember you
and
had
you still
fun.
weren't nearly. I did have fun, but you weren't
But now
nearly
they are
as
more
scared.
performant.
Yeah, you weren't even scared. Even in the 78, I barely hit the pedal, blew out the back end, and you're like, "Let me out right here." I almost had to drop you off downtown. Now, that's the price point for this vehicle. Now, if you're looking for a unique vehicle, a lot of people are just going to say, hey, Bronco Raptor this, Bronco Raptor there. I guess I can understand the Bronco Raptor is an impressive vehicle. Why is it an impressive vehicle? Well, performance, unless it's a Raptor R, it's going to be completely blown out of the vehicle by the Lightning. But people who are car enthusiasts, truck enthusiasts looking for performance don't really seem to be looking at the Lightning. If they were, you'd see on YouTube Lightning videos with, all sorts of Lightning performance acceleration videos and all sorts of views. But the ones getting all sorts of views, for example, are people saying, totally regret it, worst decision ever. And then they make a 25-minute video about how they didn't get their charger in time that they only ordered after their truck showed up. That kind of sounds like that's your fault. I made a video saying, hey, my vehicle won't charge, and it's my fault. This dummy right here didn't realize he was plugging in a wet plug into a socket. If I did that in my house, I'd probably fry myself. I'd have spiky fried hair. Not why I'm wearing a cap today. I haven't fried myself with the Lightning yet. But if you want something rare and you want a better price to quality ratio, there it is right there. Bronco Everglades. You got a rare vehicle. You've got a much more reasonable price. But here's the but. Doesn't have performance. The 2.3 liter engine does the job. It's a good engine. By industry standards, it's a powerful engine. But when you've had, a 3.5 liter EcoBoost in an F-150, you're not going to find this fast. You're going to find it quite adequate. And for most people, it's going to do a great job. But if you're a performance junkie, it's not going to do. But if you're a performance junkie, you're probably also on the internet saying that the Lightning is total garbage and that you absolutely hate it, but have never even test driven it. So my point for tonight is test drive vehicles. And when you test drive a Lightning, you're going to say, holy smokes, folks, I need one of these. I originally ordered a Lightning being like, I need one of these to learn about it, because eventually that's all that's going to be out there for new vehicles. They're all going to be EVs. Let's find out if Ford's going to be doing this right, or are they way off basis? And if so, do they have a chance to catch up and make a good electric vehicle? That's why I got the Lightning, to talk about it. That's why I ordered it. But when I tested one on a racetrack, I was like, oh, I want one of these. And if I had an unlimited budget, it is right now in my current dream garage. It's one of the vehicles in my current dream garage. It belongs there. It's got it all. Price point, this Everglades does not get enough credit or talk in the Bronco community. So one showed up, and I was all asking. The owner, in the meantime, actually had to buy a truck. No choice. They had to pick up a truck. They needed some wheels right away. So the Everglades is available. So here I am being like, well, if I trade in the Ford F-150 Raptor 2019 and the 2022 Mustang GT convertible, could I have the Everglades? And the answer from the dealership in that case might actually be, no, this is too rare. Leave it for the public. And sometimes what they would maybe say is, well, leave it for the public, but if it's not sold after, 3 weeks, a month, or maybe 2 months, then you can buy it.
And that's how you got the Raptor too. They were afraid to be stuck with the Ford F-150 Raptor.
Yeah.
So when you
Yeah,
told
at
them
first,
that you wanted, they're like, yeah, take
the
it.
Raptor came in, and after I think it was like 8 or 9 days, they didn't have any internet demands for it. And I was like, I think it's pretty cool to like, you can have it. They hadn't gotten any hits on it. They didn't want it sitting around and paying all sorts of interest on it. So they turned and I earned. Hey, Ford has a program called Turn and Earn that encourages dealers and rewards dealers for actually changing out vehicles, receiving them and selling them as fast as possible, meaning no games for clients. You don't quickly sell something that's got 10,000 over MSRP, but we will in this show. If there's time, if not, next show I'll be showing you tricks on how to not get fooled at the dealer, show you kind of where fake fees get hidden. If you haven't seen it already, check out our exterior impressions video. Then we'll be going for part 2 and maybe a part 3. We'll be doing some road test where we accelerate. Marie's faces are priceless because she honestly does get pretty scared when I drive. You don't want to miss that.
That's
Always.
why I cannot sleep when we were going to Florida while you were driving. I was so scared.
No. Yeah, I keep go to sleep. You need some sleep.
No, I cannot.
Catch up.
I need to stay eyes on the road while you're driving.
No trust.
To scream, hey, wake up.
Major trust issues in this relationship right here, but they're not about anyone, having extramarital affairs. They're just completely revolve around my driving. So if you've ever wondered what the underneath of a Bronco looks like, good news, you don't have to go crawl underneath one. There's the underneath of your Bronco. Now, Badlands will also have this shield right up front here. It's going to have the next shield, and you've got your side shield right there. So those are covering up all the important little bits. It's like a jock strap for your vehicle. It's covering up those important bits. But another great value on the Bronco. So F-150, I'll say right away, XLT 302, great if you want a baby Raptor. Value is your Ford F-150 Tremor. You can get it as like a beefed up XLT, an Ultra King XLT, or you can also have it as a beefed up Lariat. Price is quite different between the two. Now, a very good point was made by JM. I missed the full name, but JM, and I'm missing a few letters, sorry about that, mentioned that the Wild Track with the Haas 3.0 suspension is also now kind of a rare model, and I think that's also a very good choice.
JM Genoa.
And I think a Badlands is also a great build. And, do keep in mind, there's so much talk and complaint in the car and truck enthusiast community about no longer having any manuals. Well, here is a great manual you can buy, but then Ford only put the 2.3 liter on it. So it bugs me that the Everglades is only a 2.3 liter. I'd like my performance option. I consider the 2.7 liter EcoBoost engine to be a performance engine. And I don't think that the 3 liter V6 Bronco Raptor engine, yes, it's a performance engine, but not a whole lot more performance than what you're getting out of the 2.7 liter. So I think the 2.7 liter is an absolute amazing value at the price Ford charges. Now, of course, you add 4,000 Canadian when you're looking at a Badlands because you have to pay for that automatic transmission. But if you're already on an Outer Banks, the Outer Banks model comes standard with automatic, and you do not have to pay, you don't have to pay the automatic transmission. So you just add on the 2.7 liter, a performance engine for very little money. So for the Ford Bronco, I'm putting it out right there. I think, my opinion, the 2.7 liter is a performance engine. Go over to BM, go over to Mercedes, go over to Audi, look at their power figures, and look at how much extra they charge to add that type of extra torque. So Michael, thank you, Ridgeview, is allowing me to see that Michael's got a really good question. Were you able to catch it and note it? Will we answer it at the end of the show?
Yeah.
Does it need to be, is it urgent? Does it need to be answered immediately? Is it on topic is what I mean.
Yeah, what's new for the Lightning for 2023? Do you know?
New for the F-150 Lightning, price, that's the big one. Price, little things like, I believe before we could have a roof as an option, and now the panoramic roof is only available at Lariat 511 plus. But for all the minute little differences, what's really cool is at the beginning of the order guide. So if you type in on Google 2023 Ford F-150 Lightning order guide, you open up the order guide and the first page has what's new. So you can look at what's new right there to make sure you've got all your little details. In our first impressions video, we do talk about some dislikes. For example, I dislike the fact that there's not much of a difference between the XLT and the Lariat grill. The mags are the same in Canada, whereas they're only the same in the States between the XLT extended range and then both Lariat trims. So I think that's unfortunate. And I know those mags are really built so you don't lose range. There's less drag on them. So maybe, you know, there's only so many designs you can make that have less drag. But I think it's kind of annoying. You pay a ton of money. I'm paying a ton of money for a 511 Lariat, and I just have the look of a less expensive model. And I think that's a big miss on Ford's part, if I'm allowed to say that. I'll find out if I still have a job tomorrow. But hey, it's an idea for the future. Now, going over to the Bronco, Badlands 2.7 liter, fantastic value. Outer Banks 2.7 liter, fantastic value. But with the Outer Banks, we love the regular mags on that. I think they're great looking, but it's not aggressive enough for me. So I'd say if you're looking for a more aggressive look and don't want to put on aftermarket tires and aftermarket mags, price, you know, the great quality is a Badlands. Add the 2.7 liter and you've got a high performance SUV with a great aggressive look. And if you want something and you want it to be, you know, if you want your Bronco to be rare, don't feel like you have to go spend all that Raptor money. The Everglades, great value right there. And if you're going to Sasquatch, any of the models anyways, best model to Sasquatch in my opinion, if you want the 2.7 liter, is the Outer Banks. You get what most people would consider minimum equipment that they want in a vehicle. So keyless entry and heated seats. If you're in a northern climate and, you know, if you're dating a woman, I don't know any women, I think it's a guy thing to, I don't know. I think a lot of women want heated seats.
Now that we try it once, we cannot live without it.
Hopefully I don't get my, yeah. And hopefully it's okay with YouTube's, all the YouTube rules that I generalized. One, I said women. And instead of people, I generalized, I think a lot of women like heated seats, but a lot of women I've heard from are always like, the vehicle has to have heated seats. Then a lot of guys, you know, when looking at Mavericks will be like, it's cloth, I'm fine without heated seats. But I've yet to hear a woman tell me I'm fine without heated seats, even if it's cloth. I've even made the argument, it's cloth, it takes your body temperature will go into the seats, takes like 10 to 15 seconds. No, I've always heard I need heated seats.
Yeah, because if you're like me, the cloth would take the heat of my butt, but at the same time, it's my butt who will be cold all day long after that. Maybe that's why women loves heated seats.
Well, I want your bottom to be quite happy. Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, always.
Now, we've talked about the F-150 best value. We've talked about Bronco, optional best values. If you're going to Sasquatch and you want my personal best value when you're going to be Sasquatching with a bit of equipment is the Outer Banks, because for me, a 2.7 liter engine is just awesome. It's low cost performance, unbelievably low cost performance. And the Outer Banks already comes as an automatic. So you're not paying double. And if you notice the difference between an Outer Banks and a Black Diamond, not a big difference. So 40,750 Black Diamond, 43,655 for the Outer Banks, but you've got an automatic transmission on that, which you have to have when you go 2.7 liter, and it has running boards, it has heated seats, it has the keyless entry, all great stuff if you're in a cold climate. Now, JM Genoa has a great question, so either I guess, note it because we're pretty much at the questions part of the show now.
Yeah, I note all your question, guys. So we'll end the show with that. So yeah, Jim Genoa says, will 2024 Maverick have hybrid all-wheel drive or a plug-in hybrid?
It's a little early for 2024 news, so I'd speculate either 2024 or 2025, since it seems quite, well, I talked about this last spring, so did Tim Bartz, and I straight out was like, hey, that's an all-wheel drive plug-in that they're testing. Mid-model refresh or new model. So mid-model refresh would mean we'd get it, 3 years after, so 2025. I'd say it'll be a really nice surprise if we get a plug-in all-wheel drive for 2024. I think it's going to be a mid-model refresh. They're still, they are increasing production on the Maverick. That's in the plans. Ford plans on increasing Maverick production, F-150 Lightning production, Mach-E production, Bronco production. All these models, they're going to increase production for 2023 considerably. So you're going to have all sorts of YouTube videos being like, hey, that means a lot more Broncos, and all these models are going to be showing up in much larger numbers at dealerships. And even if every single one of these vehicles was a customer order, you're still going to have a ton of YouTube videos saying Ford's going to go out of business or dealerships are ruined. They've got all these vehicles, they can't sell them. Look at this thumbnail. Ford's pathetic, dealerships are pathetic. You're going to get a lot of that, even if all of them were spoken for. Now they won't all be spoken for. We're getting F-150s as inventory, but we're also getting a heck of our inventory ratio is pretty good. We followed all Ford's rules. We did some really good turn and earn, and when customer orders came in, it was always MSRP. Even when a vehicle became available, it'd be like, oh, F-150s available. Well, it's being sold at today's internet price, no dealer fees, no add-on. So to videos that said Ford did absolutely nothing in regards to correcting dealers. No, they really did quite a lot. They put in a lot of new systems. 2023, the word I'm hearing is I'm not expecting any big rebates this year. I think come summer or fall, we're going to get better interest rates. And we'll talk more about better interest rates in the next show, because you need to know your credit rating. So you need to know if you have, bad credit, because then if you've got okay credit and a dealer tells you, well, you know what, you're going to be financed at this percentage, and it's 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or whatever percentage more, well, just adding 2% more to an auto loan means you pay thousands more. And be careful, when they announce that new price, you need to review your entire contract, because how easy it is to say, well, you want the vehicle, it's 2% more and it gives you this monthly payment. Now, it'd be very wrong, but it's been seen before that then that payment includes some stuff you may or may not want. Does it include extra insurances that you didn't really quite say yes to? Does it include an extended warranty? Does it include, some nitrogen in the tires, ceramic coating? What other products got thrown into that price? You need to review your entire contract. And of course, the interest rate, it's like a house. You got to think of it as something that's negotiable. Now, when Ford puts out an interest rate and you're with Ford Credit, just look on the internet. That's your interest rate. Make sure you get that interest rate unless you have pretty low credit. If you have pretty low credit, then yes, you will pay more. But if you've got okay credit, well, Ford's interest rates that they show, that's for people with okay credit. Mm-hmm. Now, I think we've got a few more questions.
Yeah, you're ready for the question? So,
I'm ready.
Speaking about Bronco, Jason K was asking, he was talking about Bronco Badlands, and he was asking, are the signature lights a constraint now?
Well,
that's a good question.
We talked about that in the last video. I had notes on that, and that's somewhere in all these. That was the last live. And maybe Tim, I'm not sure if Tim Bartz remembers here, but going through the notes, F-150. Do you mind actually looking through this? Because I'm going to be talking about this week's scheduling notes, because I did promise to cover that in the show. We will get back to your question. But this week, not scheduling the 2023 Ford Bronco. They're only scheduling soft tops. So soft top roofs only are the ones that are getting scheduling dates. Don't take this as Ford doesn't have any hard tops left, and that please don't take this either as the hard tops are doomed and they're gone forever. It's just for this week, Ford will only be scheduling the soft tops. They won't be scheduling the Expedition. They won't be scheduling the F-150, even though production on the F-150 has been going pretty good. And production on the F-150 Lightning is going to start up March 13th. So I'm pretty happy, because when I first reported that the Lightning factory was closed, at first unknown reason, the week after, I said, hey, it was a fire in the parking lot. This is what happened. The battery caught fire. From day one, I was saying this is probably going to be out for, and I speculated, now I think I said 2 or 3 weeks, and it's pretty much going to be falling to that. The last time I talked about it, saying it'd be about 2-3 weeks, this was around February 20th, if I'm not mistaken. Super Duty, no scheduling. Transit, no scheduling. And I'm sorry, I'm saying no scheduling. My error. Scheduling this week is the Bronco, but soft top only. The Expedition scheduling, the F-150 is scheduling. But with the F-150, do keep in mind, Ford has said in the past, actually for many weeks now, moonroof. Moonroof, it's a bit of an issue, and I've been covering it on and off, so we'll get back to the F-150 if need be. Super Duty, that's scheduling, but minimal scheduling. And remember, for the last while, they've been doing XL, XLT, and Lariat. Now there's, soon for April, they're going to sprinkle in a little bit of King Ranch, sprinkle in a little bit of the higher trims above Lariat. Transit is scheduling. And the Navigator is scheduling. Now, what's not scheduling? Bronco Sport, Econoline, Edge, Escape, Explorer, Mach-E, Maverick, not scheduling, medium truck, Aviator, Corsair, and Nautilus. So Maverick, you don't need to check your email every day this week. It's not scheduling. And also not scheduling, Mustang, Ranger, and Transit Connect Van Wagon. And Wagon. So Transit Connect Van and Wagon also not scheduling. Now throw those notes on. Hopefully we're not getting too much residual paper shaking here. For the F-150, to get back on that, XLT or Lariat, two-tone paint, that's out. Super cab configurations with any of the following options: STX black appearance package, extended running boards in chrome, extended running boards, accent color, stone gray metallic paint, rapid red metallic tinted clear coat paint. Try to avoid that. The notes say, please consider removing these options to be eligible for scheduling. And, the twin panel moonroof, that's an issue. Pro Power onboard, 2 kilowatt, that's an issue. Power tailgate, it's an issue. It may take longer to schedule due to limited availability. So that's the roof, the glass roof, the Pro Power onboard, power tailgate, 3.3 liter V6 engine. It's a reliable engine, but it lacks a bit of performance, but does the job. 2.7 liter V6, 5 liter V8, and even crew cab. Mind you, we've been getting a lot of crew cabs, so I don't know what to say about that. All I can say is it's suggested, to note that it may take longer. And may take longer could mean for your order it causes no problem, or, I'm sure how these things get scheduled, there must be a rotating wheel of, your dealers first to get filled up, to then later on you're the last dealer. If you're the last to get the allotments, then there's probably a lot of stuff that's not left over, but it means wait a little longer and you will get it. Balanced out means you're never going to get it. Move on, you're not getting it. Remove what's on balance out. Now we had
for the question that we had, it's the signature lights on the Bronco are not constrained. Tim says no constraint on it, and I couldn't find it in the notes. So
fantastic.
And we have other question. Tom Dinder said, "What happened to Eddie Bauer? Does this company still exist?"
Eddie Bauer.
That's a good
I
question.
thought they're still making clothes or something. I thought Eddie Bauer still exists. That's a great question for Google search. But will we get Eddie Bauer trims back at Ford? Maybe when Ford's feeling retro for the 90s. Late, I guess that was what, late 80s to late 90s we saw the Eddie Bauers. So we'll see if we'll see when Ford's feeling retro for the 90s. Now, what's our next
Another
question?
question. Gray Aber said, "How good is the battery for environment?"
Right now, not great.
Yeah, we're laughing because of that.
Yeah, right now, not great. So lithium and the other rare minerals, not great when it comes to mining. And if you dispose of batteries incorrectly, it's horrible for the environment. But Ford's going to work out a plan for that. Now, someone's asking me how I'm feeling. Not bad, not bad. I've got a little bit of a. I'm feeling pretty good these days. A little bit of a little wrist injury from all the office work I've been doing. But thanks for asking. Now I know we need to wrap up this show pretty darn soon because at 9 o'clock we've got Dave over at All Terrain Nation who's going to be covering all that Bronco information. So Monday nights we've got Dave at All Terrain Nation covering the best Bronco info. And it's just like a real Bronco show. So that's a great place to hang out. You'll see me there pretty much every Monday night. And well, every Tuesday night, I'm over with Tim Bartz at Long MacArthur. So Tuesday nights, let's all meet up and chat with Tim while Tim does his live.
Perfect. Another question from James Herrera. What do you think of the Ford Tremor? I tested one out with the 3.5 liters V6 twin turbo and wasn't bad at all. So what do you think about it?
I love it. It's amazing. It's an amazing bargain. I even have trouble saying I don't like the term baby Raptor because I think Smart Raptor would be a better option. It's such an amazing value. It's just got so much value, especially now that the 3.5 liter EcoBoost is making 500 pound-feet of torque. Our Raptor has 450 horsepower and 515 pound-feet of torque. So why not a Tremor with 500 pound-feet of torque? It's going to feeling-wise, it's going to feel just as fast. You want it to sound just as good as a Raptor? Change out the exhaust. It looks just as good. You've got the dual exhaust in the back. The hood is amazing with the little black vents on the hood. Yeah, no, the Tremor is, of all the trucks on the market right now, of any manufacturer, I'd say it's the Tremor. Tremor is just awesome and a great value.
Yeah, and the WB tonight was asking if I were wearing Tremor orange on me. So yeah, it's red, but because of the light, it looks like. So I'm happy. It's like I did it. How can we say that? I wanted to did it that way.
And Marine Vet says that batteries, if I'll add if disposed incorrectly, are like nuclear waste. So yeah, batteries will completely end life on the planet if we dispose of it incorrectly. If we just start laying batteries all across, we'd be in a whole lot of trouble.
Yeah, so people said, "Oh, I want to have an electric vehicle to be green." It's not that green, guys.
Well, okay, that's one thing. But if you have a clean energy source, relatively clean, we have hydroelectric here, and it doesn't take very long to offset the badness created when making those batteries. So we just have to figure out and make sure that these get disposed of very, very very wisely. So someone shared something actually pretty nice to hear. Congratulations on the Bronco. I believe we have a Bronco. Hasn't showed up in the views. Oddly, it pops up on my screen and then Marie gets it on her phone. But we had someone who's actually been, I think, put to production for their Bronco. So huge congratulations. I missed the name.
Yeah, it's for High Follow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, production date and VIN number last week.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
4 high, 4 low. Long time. Always here for the premieres. Really appreciate your assistance and your chat. It's great hearing everyone's positive and negative information. So right on, brother. Really happy for you. Congratulations. Now, we could have this show go on for hours, but Dave is on right now. So let's
We need to
hop
let
on
him the
over.
place.
Yeah, let's give the seat over to Dave. I'll see you all over at All Terrain Nation. Take care, folks. Have a great night.